We all want to be inspired. We're all curious. And even in business, you're always a person first. So when you're writing or talking to your clients, you're talking to a person. So show that you're human.
A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Hey, welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. My name is Ethan Beute. I host the Customer Experience Series here on the show. And every single interaction that one of your customers or future customer has with you, your people, your product, your service, your brand, all of that adds up to your brand legacy. And there's very little that's more important to build than that legacy. If you want two truths and a lie about how to build that legacy effectively, you're going to love this conversation with Kristy Krueger. Hey, welcome back to the Customer Experience Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking branding, rebranding, and a variety of other topics with today's guest who brings 20 years of experience in marketing development, marketing strategy, and marketing communication to this conversation. She currently serves as the Vice President of Marketing at Revel, a healthcare technology company that uses data to move people to take action for better health. They focus on technology, teamwork, and creativity to get that done. Kristy Krueger, welcome to the Customer Experience Podcast.
Thank you, Ethan. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation, especially because of your branding background. But we'll start with your thoughts or your observations or lessons about customer experience at a high level.
Yeah, this has been on my mind a lot. So I've been, kind of picking up on different things. And I was listening to a podcast interview between Oprah and Bradley Cooper after he produced and directed A Star is Born. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's phenomenal. And he was in this interview saying that, his movie or his art was so important to him because of every life it had the opportunity to touch. And I just thought that was so cool that people were reaching out to him and saying, this really made a difference in my life. And thank you for making this movie. It wasn't just a movie. It was truly art and it had a message behind it. And I think when it comes down to the customer experience, it's the opportunity to touch people's lives. And, when you have that opportunity, did you inspire them in those connections? Like that's really going above and beyond. But if you really want a great customer experience, you have to look at it as it's the customer's experience. It's their experience that becomes a part of your brand legacy. It's not the brand alone. And really, in the end, that's what's the most important thing to center around that, I think, is true customer experience.
I love it. It's treating all of these moments, these touch points as opportunities, and they're either opportunities you take advantage of to make the world a better place and to improve your business, or missed opportunities where, you just maybe took the easy route and let the moment go. You have a really strong brand background, and an emerging theme here in these conversations is the relationship between brand and brand experience and the customer experience. How do you, some people have said that they're synonymous, other people say differently. What are your thoughts or feelings about the relationship between brand experience and customer experience? Are they synonymous to you, I guess?
Yeah, I think it starts with the brand because, when you build a brand, you're aspirational. You're thinking, what kind of experience are they going to have? And it's really the soul of the company is figuring out the why. Why are you doing this? Why are you asking people to come to work and work this hard? What is the purpose that we're all connected to? And that really then leads to, what is your brand promise? And your brand promise is your promise to your customers. And how do you live that every day? So I think they're absolutely connected. The one feeds off the other. It's just when one starts and the other one takes off. So truth number one that I have on here is live and breathe your brand promise internally. And your brand promise, again, is that, your promise to your customers. What could matter more than that? And I was really inspired by a TED Talk by Simon Sinek, and he talked about how great leaders inspire action and just really understanding the purpose of your company. And then you build off of that and figure out what your promise could be to make that happen. And that's when your customers are truly connected to you, when they believe in the promise that you're making. And he gives the example of Apple, which we all know is great company, gives a great customer experience because they're in a community with their customers. They believe in this mantra of think differently. And so they're connected to their customers in that way, and that's their promise to them, and they continually deliver on that. And so I really do think brand and customer experience are tied together, and they have to be successful.
I love it. And just going back to where you started too, I mean, doing it internally not only means that employees need to have that buy-in and live it out so that the customer can experience it, but it gives a sense of purpose and meaning to day-to-day work as well, which is awesome.
We need that as humans. Our brand promise at Revel is we get people to do things that are good for them. And we made that really simple on purpose because we wanted it to be for our internal team to really hold on to that and know that the work that they do really, really does matter. We have it up at every company meeting. We have our mission, which is to make the world a healthier place. And then our brand promise and our promise to our customers of how we're going to do that through health actions and get people to do things that are, good for them. And we have that integrated into our culture, and it makes all the difference. In every team meeting, we talk about client experiences and any member stories that are new, and it's the best part of the meeting. And it makes us just feel really good about what we do.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's I found in my own work that's when I'm reminded of why I sometimes show up early and stay late and work on the weekends and do all these other things that are, they feel sacrificial at times, when I want to be in kind of a martyr state. But then when you can really be reminded of the outcomes, that your mission is actually coming to life and you're doing the things you aspire to do, it's just so satisfying and it ropes you right back in. So that was your truth number one. We're doing a little 2 truths and a lie here.
I'm going to do truth number 2 because it really kind of builds here. And it's
so for anyone that missed it, the first truth is living and breathing your brand promise internally. And again, brand and promise are super important words, and it needs to be true from the inside out. So truth number 2.
Truth number 2 is treat your customers like humans. And I get into a lot of trouble with this one because in a B2B world, which is the world I play in, everyone says you have to be buttoned up. Your clients are health plans, it's very serious. This is people's health and we can't do that. And it's like, guess what? We can. We're all human. We all want to be inspired. We're all curious. And even in business, you're always a person first. So when you're writing or talking to your clients, you're talking to a person. So show that you're human. And I have a couple of examples. The first one is from AT&T, and it's their campaign that says, just okay is not okay. And you've probably heard this one or seen it, and I'm going to play it now, but it's about getting a tattoo. So here we go.
First tattoo?
Yeah.
Relax, amigo. It's going to look okay.
Only okay?
No worries, boss. I'm one of the tattoo artists in the city.
You mean one of the best tattoo artists in the city, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to draw it first?
Stay in your lane, bro.
Just okay is not okay, especially when it comes to your network.
So I love that because it's so true. Well, especially when you're getting a tattoo, we expect more. We want a great customer experience, and just working with a company that gives you an okay experience, it's just not good enough and it's not going to fly. You're going to go somewhere else then. So this commercial just did a great job, I thought, of really connecting with the audience and letting you know that they're going to go above and beyond because they too believe that just okay is not okay. And this is just a great example of using humor to connect with your audience and talk about your brand promise. It's very refreshing. People are connected by laughter. So bringing in that human element is it can be great when it works well. There's a fine line. So you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, that whole series is very, very entertaining. Typically, they're comedy writers. Comedy isn't easy to do, but when you can do it well, it's super, super effective. And it also, for me, the thing that came to mind is, the desired outcome, right? Oftentimes when we're talking about experience, we're talking about maybe above and beyond, but there's also just this basic, give me what I need. And this goes to your promise, which is, hey, I thought when I did business with you that I was going to get X, like I was going to achieve the desired outcome. In this case, is like, just okay is way short of, just okay is even short of okay, or it can be. And so we need to make sure we at least hit the finish line. And if we can do it above and beyond, even better.
Absolutely. Yes. An example number 2 is, just talk to me like I'm a human. Just be conversational. If you can't do the humor thing well and you're not going to take that chance, I get it. That's up to you and your brand and what your tone is, but at least be human and talk like a human. I was listening to Ann Handley, who was on this podcast, and I just absolutely love her, by the way. And she said that content is the holy grail of connecting with customers. And I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. I have an example of a company that does that for me, and it's Trello. So they are an online app that kind of helps with project management in a Kanban type style. And we use that on our marketing team for project management and helping us be organized. And they send this monthly newsletter, and it's written in such a human way that it just goes above and beyond my expectations every time, because it like reads my mind. It like knows the things that I'm worried about or want to know more about. And every time that newsletter comes, I forward it to the marketing team. I think I've done that like 5 times in a row. And they're like, okay, it must be time for the Trello newsletter because Kristy's sending it out again. But the topics are just awesome. For me, it's like mindfulness at work and passion projects and ways that you can be productive, but not the typical, like, here are 10 tips to be productive. What, successful people do in the morning to be productive. It's not the same old, but it's actually digging a little bit deeper and saying, it's okay to be mindful at work. It's okay to have a passion project and combine that with your work. So it really speaks to me. Whoever the blog writer is, thank you very much. That's awesome. Keep it up. And if you're not using Trello, it's a really cool tool. So,
yeah, I love it. I use Trello. I also use Asana, and it was. I agree. Ann Handley is awesome. I recommend both of her books, particularly Everybody Writes. I also recommend her newsletter, which I expect you also enjoy. It's just extremely well written. And if you missed that episode and you're listening to this one, you can subscribe to the Customer Experience Podcast in any player and roll back. It was one of the first 5 episodes or so. So those are 2 truths. I think it's easy to lose sight of the human on the other side because you're typically working to deliver numbers and metrics and KPIs and outcomes. And it's easy to lose sight of all the human beings that are involved in that. So I really like truth number 2. What is the brand or the customer experience lie that a lot of people maybe mistreat or overlook?
Yes, the lie is that if you have client or customer in your title, that you own the customer experience. And I'm sure most everyone on this podcast, if you're listening to this, you already know that that is not true. Everyone in the company owns the customer experience. And if you want to have a great customer experience, your team has to know that. It's front stage to backstage. Everyone creates the experience together. And that's why we have jobs. We should be grateful that we can be a part of working together to make an amazing customer experience, because it's the most important part of our job. And we may not even realize the impact that we're making. So going back to truth number 1 about making sure the team is aware of the impact that they're having on customers, and sometimes your customers, in our case, the members and lives that we're touching, it just completely changes your mindset. And now you start thinking, well, what if the client was my best friend? What if it was a family member? Each interaction, I would pause, I would slow down, and I would just take a moment and think, how can I make their life better? How can I go above and beyond? And I think if you come into it with just a little bit of a tweak to the mindset of like, how am I going to impact someone's experience today, and think about them as a human, it can make a really big difference. So it's really not a corporate thing at all. It's a human thing. It's about living your brand promise and your promise to your customers because you believe in it. And knowing that you're in a community with your clients, you're in this together. And I think that makes all the difference.
I love it. When you adopt that mindset, it can't help but manifest itself, not only in your behavior, but also in the way that the customer has an experience with any representative of the company. I love the way that you loop that back to the brand, because I think once you have a well-defined brand, which provides a sense of purpose and a mission, it does become easier to get everyone aligned. I mean, you basically made the entire argument for my going down this road of producing this podcast in the first place, which is exploring this idea, because customer experience is the single most important and valuable thing we do, but it's difficult to get people aligned. So I love this framework, and it kind of tees up a question I have for you, which is, one of the core values at Revel is fanatical teamwork. Talk a little bit about what does that look like practically? Why fanatical? What does teamwork look like? Kind of how are you organized in general? And when did that occur to you all?
So when we were writing the mission for the company, we wanted to incorporate our core values. And one of them is fanatical teamwork, brilliant creativity. Those are so important to us that we had to weave it into the mission. And we were very specific about what that word would be to describe teamwork. And we finally thought, it's fanatical. It's about putting people first and really working as a team. Means we all have great ideas. We all bring this creativity, and we need to trust each other and trust that sometimes we'll make mistakes or we'll test something and we're wrong, but what do we learn from it and how do we grow from that? We're an emerging company within the healthcare space. We have a lot of lives to impact and a lot of good to do. So we want to be as effective as possible and get our solutions to market as soon as we can, because the more solutions we put out, the more we're helping people. And so the fanatical teamwork is really part of all of us believing in the same mission, that if we work together, we're not just having a fun time together, but we're also helping people. And there's no greater feeling than coming to work and knowing that you're actually helping people.
Totally. How old is the company and how many people are part of this fanatical teamwork?
Yes. Yeah. So we've been in the space for 12 years, and we went through a rebrand. And so we became Revel 2.5 years ago when I came on board, and we have about 80 plus people and growing.
Nice. And how are you organized approximately? Are sub teams within the super team?
So we have, a typical leadership team, and then we have a marketing team, technology team, product team, HR, sales and marketing together, client experience team. I'm probably missing some, but, a pretty typical structure, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. So this moving people concept, you've mentioned it a couple times, we're moving people, I guess, first to thought and then to action. On the website, which, by the way, one of your it's not a brand promise, but it's more functional, practical promise that probably helps people with these problems identify and say, I want to connect with these people, is we get people to stay in network. We get people to get their annual physical. We get people to schedule their next appointment. We get people to manage their diabetes. We get people to get their family flu shots. So you're moving people to action. As VP of marketing, you obviously have a lot to do there in terms of kind of guiding the process of moving people to new thoughts and new actions and new behaviors. How do you think about that work?
Yeah, so we have this, two ways to look at it. The first one is making sure that we understand our members. So it's not just the clinical data, but it's also, how do we know them as a human? Like we were saying before, what data do we have that can give us some insight into their living situation right now? Or just making sure we can even get into contact with them and which methods are the best way that they like to be contacted. So that's the basic marketing, right? But the second part of it is the behavioral science that really drives the messaging and understanding why would someone not get a flu shot? Let's make sure that we understand what those message themes are, put them out to that group and then test them. And then the technology behind the scenes is figuring out which ones are resonating and then pausing the ones that aren't and using the ones that are working. So we can change the campaign mid-flight to use the types of messages that are actually resonating with the audience. And that's why we can get such great outcomes.
So good, and such a huge value for your kind of two layers of clients there. It's really a benefit to both. We have something in common. We both have great respect for Fred Rogers and both really enjoyed Won't You Be My Neighbor. talk about that. Like for anyone that hasn't seen it, I think we would both highly recommend Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is a fantastic film that I did not watch a lot of Mr. Rogers growing up, but always had, awareness and appreciation. And that just took it to a new level for me. What do you think his message or that film can teach marketers or anyone working in a professional capacity today?
I think just being a good human. I mean, he had so much credibility and just honesty. And, his quote about the greatest gift is just being your honest self and then sharing that with kids who are growing up in a crazy world and just being true to yourself and doing the things that are right. He would write letters to his fans, to these little kids, to help them understand all the things that were going on in the world. And he would take time to write those letters and explain them. His wife would help him with that too. And it was just like, imagine if you took the time to write letters to all your clients, or a subset of them and really think about the answer and be thoughtful about it. So I think he's just an amazing role model, and he did so much for our country and for the youth that, got to experience his show.
So good. It reminds me of another kind of emerging theme on the show, which is like, scaling the unscalable. I mean, if he can, because he was watched by millions. I mean, he was on television when there weren't 8,500 different channels. If someone making an impact on a national scale can do that in order to, fulfill probably his own personal mission, I think all of us could do a little bit more. I think we stop ourselves and say, oh, we can't do that at scale. So what would it look like to write a personal note or to send a truly personal video to each one of your customers? Such a good message. Kristy, this has been really fun. And I am going to give you the chance, because relationships are our number one core value here, to thank or mention someone who's had a positive impact on your life or your career. And then shout out, you already shouted out Trello, a company that I also enjoy as well. I guess I need to pay more attention to their newsletters, or get on.
I'll forward it to you.
Or get on your distribution list. But also maybe shout out another company that's doing customer experience really well.
Sure. So the first one, a thank you, would be to Ann Hanley. I mean, I went to her B2B marketing conference last year and just learned so much. Some of the things I actually talked about today were some things that they talked about, like humor and being human. And it was just so empowering to know that the path that I was on was the right path. And I had so many people at that conference tell me, like, keep doing it. What you're doing is right. Yes, people are going to think you're crazy, or they're going to think you're doing the wrong thing, but you're doing the right thing. Keep marching on. And that was really inspiring. So a big thank you to Anne for putting such a great conference together every year. And I'm coming again this year. So
nice.
And another company that I think is doing the customer experience well is Amazon, because it impacts my life so much. I'm super busy with 2 kids running around to soccer practices and games and tournaments and softball practice and gymnastics and blah, blah, blah. And just knowing that I have Amazon at my side to order things and get it in 2 days is it's wonderful. And then also having Alexa at home, because then my kids can order up music, and it's amazing to me. I never had imagined that as a kid, that I could have this device that would play any song I could think of on demand. They have no idea how good they have it.
So good. And it's all just so seamless. It's a movement toward just this ambient experience where you can just call out into the wind and things happen for you. So cool. And to think, if you could not imagine it at their age, and it is normalized at their age, what are their kids going to be doing, and how are they going to be engaging with companies and brands and technology? That's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole new podcast.
Completely. So Kristy, I really, really appreciate your time and your insights. You are on the right track. I love that you got that kind of that validation and that encouragement to keep moving in a direction that treats people as people. Really, it's the golden rule, which is represented in every major world religion, as well as a variety of philosophies, which is treat people as you'd want to be treated. And I think if we can do that in our businesses, that's just a basic foundation for success. How can someone follow up with you or with Revel?
Sure. You can just go to LinkedIn and look for Kristy Krueger, Revel Health, or go to revel-health.com.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for your time. Continued success to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed Kristy's take on how to be more personal and more human as you build relationships, serve customers, and grow your business. I hope you also enjoyed her shout outs to Ann Handley, who's a great marketer herself. She's also a guest on the Customer Experience podcast. If you want to hear that conversation with Ann Handley, other conversations like this one with Kristy Krueger, subscribe to the Customer Experience podcast. You can find the Customer Experience podcast in Apple Podcasts and iTunes, Google Podcasts and Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can check out the Customer Experience podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks again for listening.
If you're a regular listener of B2B Growth, odds are you might enjoy sales success stories with Scott Ingram as well. Well, this year, thanks to a partnership with Outreach and Sales Hacker, our friend Scott Ingram is making the live stream of his Sales Success Summit available for free. The event is on October 14th and 15th, featuring 13 presentations and 5 panels, all presented by top-performing B2B sales professionals. You can check it out and register at top1.fm/live. That's top1.fm/live.